there is optimism that a recovery can happen quickly, that none of us did anything to start or cause this. And the same survey data that I mentioned is very optimistic about revenues coming back strong in 2021. I think Oklahoma is weathering the crisis better than the areas on the East and West Coast. We have an employee that works in Colorado, and the word from there is that most firms in and around Denver have gone to four-day weeks and cut salaries by 20%. And the same thing's happening in and around Phoenix in our office there. At GH2, we're trying to be cautious and careful. We're preparing for a best case scenario of about 10% revenue losses this year and 2020 over 2019, and a worst case of about 20%. We haven't seen those drops yet, but we do think they're coming mainly because of the lack of or the slowdown in RFQ and proposal activity. So that's going to create a void in the market in the next few months. The other good news, though, is we're starting to figure out what a return to normal looks like, how we're going to get our office reopened, hopefully fairly quickly. There's a lot of uncertainty there. We don't have a date yet, but we're talking about what it's going to look like to go back to work, at least somewhat as a group and not all working remotely. We're starting to try to think about what business travel and other normal business activities are going to look like over the next month or so. So a lot of uncertainty, but like everyone, trying to keep our heads down and work and stay positive, and hopefully we can come out of this quickly.
All right, Michael, thank you. Barry, what opening thoughts do you have?
Sure. Can you guys hear me also?
I can.
Perfect.
Yes.
So some of the same takes as Michael. One thing about our firm is we also have a structural engineering and a civil engineering department. So again, we're a little bit more multidisciplined. In our leadership meetings, we've kind of joked that it seems like we've all been really busy the last 3 weeks, just again trying to get projects out, and also we've seen a little bit of kind of an uptick in some areas for actually putting proposals out. Last week, just on the architectural side, we put 3 different proposals out. We do a lot of medical work, so that work isn't stopped. I mean, they're constant over at the hospitals, kind of churning and burning the work in that area. We do a lot of K through 12 work too. Those projects are moving forward, just not only locally, but we're doing some work in Muskogee. So those are going forward. We do higher education work also, some of the higher ed stuff that we've been doing. Those projects are still moving forward. With just one private sector job, so they're going to put things on hold until, like Michael said, that there's a little bit more certainty in the market. One thing about our office is we were more of a mobile office to begin with, so we all have laptops. So when this did hit, we were kind of prepared to take our laptops home and work. It was just making sure that the infrastructure could actually support what we need to do. But like I said, I probably just kind of double up on what Michael said. We feel some of the same things, but it seems like the last 3 weeks, we've just been crazy busy, either getting projects out or trying to keep up on just putting out fires. Again, everybody's, especially in the hospital work, trying to make sure that the floors are secured and just doing whatever we need to do to help make sure that the hospitals are ready to receive any patients that might be sick. So.
Great. Good deal. Well, so, kind of, you guys touched on this a little bit as far as what work is slowing down the most, being the private owners versus the public sector projects. Have you seen any school districts, since classes are out right now, where school districts have wanted to push their timelines up because they don't have kids in the school right now? Is there anything that's being moved forward as we speak? Barry, we'll start with you.
Sure. We've got some projects now that the work was actually supposed to begin over the summer, and they've moved that work up because the classrooms are empty. So one of the projects is out in Sand Springs, and they've actually said, hey, let's go ahead and demo and start the work in that area, just because they can. They don't have to occupy the space. And we have actually 2 large school projects under construction right now, K through 12 and an elementary project. And again, for example, the Sand Springs, they're moving all their freshmen over to the high school. So they have no choice but to kind of, hope that school is going to open in September and keep these projects rolling. Same thing, a large project out in Bixby. It's the same thing. It's a big elementary and intermediate school. I mean, they redistrict the whole school to move these kids into that area. So when this all came about, as we're sitting in the OAC meetings, the superintendents are like, we cannot stop. We have to keep moving on these projects. We also have a small project in Muskogee that's doing the same thing because the school's empty. They said, hey, let's accelerate that, which kind of causes some problems. I mean, now you're on a fast track to get these problems out and still bid by the summer. So hopefully that these projects will be ready for the beginning of the school year in August. So that's what we've been seeing on the elementary or the public school projects.
Okay, Michael, you've been seeing the same thing?
Yes, we've seen the same thing, especially on some of the short-term summer projects. Just trying to, now that the buildings are empty, just trying to get them out for bids and turning it over to the CM or the contractor earlier. It has made our life easier on several of our larger school projects, and that it's nice when the schools are empty, we can go in and do existing condition scans and drawings and not have to work around a lot of people. So it's helping us in that regard. But I think we've seen our USPS and GSA work with their office buildings empty, and with some of the Postal Service facilities changing their operations. They're also trying to move things up and get things done right now while there's a lull. So we have seen a little bit of that.
Good deal. So, Michael, while you're talking here, I'll get into the next question. What's your anticipated implications of the pandemic on your on fourth quarter of this year, maybe first quarter of next year? Sort of that mid-range outlook. You see things picking back up?
I think it's tough to say. What we're sort of predicting is that there's going to be a gap, probably between May, June, and then September, October range. There's going to be a gap there, or the pace of new design projects starting is going to be reduced during that time. There are going to be pockets of projects that will start, but the overall RFQ and RFP activity, I think, as a whole, are going to be down. So those projects that would start design in that time and then start construction in August, September, October, before the end of the year, I think that's where we're going to see a lull in our workload. The bigger publicly funded projects that are underway now that have bond money, tax money, dedicated funding that's set aside, will keep going, and hopefully we'll cover some of that gap. But I don't think there's any way that we won't see a lull during that time. So that's going to hurt those construction starts, late summer, fall, and hopefully, though, it can recover pretty quickly in the new year. So we're still, the challenge is going to be, is the funding going to come back quickly? Are the credit markets going to loosen up? and will that allow projects to move forward quickly? And we think it will. We certainly hope it will. So we're looking for a tough remainder of the year and then a strong 2021.
So Barry, any additions to that? Are you guys seeing similar things? Have the same expectations for as we move through the end of 2020 and look into early 2021?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't disagree with what Michael said. I mean, right now, just the projects that we have on the boards, we're a little bit different, again, because we do some of the medical work. We're good through the summer, and going into the fall, we do a lot of, because we have in-house interiors also, we do a lot of tenant improvement work. So that's been still pretty consistent. But like I said, I don't think I can disagree with what Michael said. You know, right now we're going good. You know, hopefully things pick up. But, you know, there might be a little bump towards the end of the summer, you know, heading into the end of the year. So.
Okay, good to know. So Barry, another question that we had emailed in was just sort of generally, what changes have you made in your workflow or job site management to accommodate the health and safety requirements that the CDC and other governmental entities have recommended? And quite frankly, do you anticipate any of these changes becoming permanent going forward? And what advice do you have for contractors generally about how to help accommodate for some of these new guidelines?
Well, to be honest with you, what's been great is on the projects that I've have CA work on, the general contractors have been all over it. Meaning, when this first came about, they added additional wash stations, not only within the building, but around the labs. You know, a couple of jobs, they actually spray sanitizer at the beginning and at the end of the day. So it's from that aspect, they've been very proactive on it. In our own office, we've kind of made it just like we're doing now. It seems like Zoom or Microsoft Teams has been the approach to do the meetings. If whoever is doing the CA work, if they feel comfortable about going out to the job site, you know, if they have protection, mask or gloves, they're allowed to go out and do that. But right now we've been trying to, again, do as much video conferencing as we can. Some of the projects that we are having close to finish, you know, we usually go out towards the end of the day when maybe there's not as many workers around there. So we do keep our social distancing. I guess the biggest thing that I've probably learned is to make sure my phone is charged and my AirPods are charged, so it doesn't run out when you're in these meetings. So that's the big thing. But I really do think, to me, again, the general contractors that we've been working with, they've been very proactive, again, in providing, like I said, between wash stations and spraying stuff down. So we appreciate that from our side.
Good. So, Michael, hopefully you're seeing some of the same things with general contractors trying to help with all this. Obviously, subcontractors protecting their folks as well. You know, if you're seeing something different than that, let us know. But are you do you anticipate some of these measures becoming permanent measures on the job site, or do you think that that after maybe a vaccine or some type of more advanced treatment for coronavirus, that job sites will return to pre-February, you know, situations? What's your insight on that?
Boy, well, that's a tough one. First, I'll agree completely with Barry. The industry has been great, just working through this crisis from a safety standpoint. We've had, you know, no bad experiences at all. We've had to just really be careful about how our people are going to job sites. We've had to be careful about. We have a couple of remote job sites in Texas that we've had to travel to, so there have been impacts in terms of just internal equipment that we're carrying now in our field kits and things like that. But overall, there have not been challenges at all. This industry is on top of this, and it's fantastic. You know, in terms of what's going to happen moving forward, I have to believe that at least for the next year, until there is a vaccine or whatever that time period is, that we're going to be taking some of these precautions. You know, when you look at the people that are at higher risk, over a certain age or with health conditions, you know, they're going to have to continue taking precautions. So I think this is going to be part of our lives for the next year or so. Hopefully not to the extent it is now, but I think it's kind of a new reality that we're all going to have to deal with. John, I've lost your audio.
I have too.
My apology. I had it muted while I was coughing a second ago. So
the mute button should be a giant red button on your screen. It's always the toughest one to find.
And it should not fade away after a certain point of time. So anyway, the question, one of the questions is, should be a quick answer. Are your firms each operating 100% remotely right now? I know you addressed this to a certain degree earlier.
There's about 8 of us in our office, typically 8 to 10 people, and we're 75 strong. So, and we're spread out within the office, but usually it's about 8 or 10, and the rest are typically working remote.
Gotcha.
We're the same way. We have a total of 76, I think. Our Mesa office is pretty much completely closed. It's smaller. We have 5 people there, and they're all working remotely. Here in Tulsa and in Oklahoma City, we have a couple of folks who are managing servers and just critical functions, and they're going in some. But we're all of the design professionals are working remotely, or using the office in just a limited fashion.
Gotcha. So Rick Armstrong typed one in here, and he's keenly interested in your outlook on 2021. I know we talked about sort of the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year. What is your long-term outlook through the end of 2021 and beyond? Is there going to be a big ripple in your opinions going forward?
Just one example. We met with a client today, and they're in oil and gas, and they're like, do we hold or do we move forward, at least on the design right now, with the thought of when, like Michael said, when things pick up towards the end of the year, can we hit the ground running? And of course, they're like, hey, prices will be great. Contractors will be starving. They'll want all this work and, to make it happen. So I think, to me, we feel that there's a positive attitude that the clients still want to try to move forward, and then hope by the end of the year this has subsided, and then they can begin their projects. So that's kind of our take on it. We've had good feelings so far. So
we're in that camp as well. I think we have not seen a single project that has been canceled. We've seen a couple go on hold, a couple that were about to start fundraising after we've done conceptual design and marketing pieces. And obviously this is a horrible time to do any fundraising. So those are the only projects that we've seen that have just sort of paused or gone on hold. Nothing's been canceled. All of our clients really across the board have that same positive attitude that we're just waiting for this we're waiting to get through this. This is a pause, and hopefully we can get started again after this happens. I think the big question is whether or not, structurally we're going to do enough damage to our economy and the economic infrastructure of the country to hold back that surge after this is over. But we have a glasses half full attitude right now.
Good deal. Glad to hear that. So just a kind of another brief mention to everybody that's on the call here. If you do have questions or information you want to get from these guys, be sure to click on the chat button on your screen or on the Q&A section down there. If you type something in that box, and I can read your questions to them. I had hoped at some point that I might be able to unmute particular individuals to ask questions verbally, but it's going to take me a little bit more practice, I think, with WebEx to figure out how to do that. So we're going to have to stick with the chats for now. So if you have questions, please send them in. One question we did get, once again, a little bit before this panel started today, one of our contractors was asking if it's possible to receive updates on projects that are being worked on, postponed, or canceled directly from you as architects. Is that something that's available? And then they went on to ask, do architects routinely establish bidder lists on projects even if there is not a pre-bid meeting? And if so, can subcontractors contact them to request those lists? So, Michael, can we start with you on that answer?
Yes. So we have actually been discussing this over the last couple of weeks. We have not in the past kept an ongoing list of projects that are about to bid, but I think we'll be starting that in the next couple of weeks, just so we can have it at least for our public projects that are out there in the news reports and where we can publish information. I think we're going to try to start having that as a resource for the industry so they can reach out to our office and we can let them know what is happening. We're definitely in favor of that.
Good deal. Barry?
Well, yeah, I'd have to agree with what Michael's. I mean, since we do so much public work, most of that stuff's, it has to be bid out anyways. There's, again, with the schools, it's a 21-day bidding period. So that's out there. I mean, there's nothing secret. I mean, there are some projects, which I'm assuming like Michael, that are privates that we have NDAs and that we can't kind of disclose that work we're doing. So, it's looking at, I mean, it's no different than us trying to look for, like Michael said, for RFIs and RFQs that are on any of the public websites. So I would just suggest that the GCs and the subs have to do the same thing at this point. But we're always happy if they want to call. We can try to help them out and lead them in some good direction. So again, to me, we're all part of this, and we're all a big community, whether we're in the design or the construction. So however we can help, please feel free to give us a call, and we'll try to help you out if we can.
Gotcha. I appreciate that very much. Well, we, believe it or not, have pretty much gone through all the questions. The only one that was left was one of my wonderful board members, Mr. Kearns, asking if I needed a haircut, and the answer is yes. So I'll handle that one. You guys don't need to answer that because I'm sure you'll definitely agree with my assessment of that. So any other questions from our participants today? This is your chance to pigeonhole a couple of top architects here in the area. What are your thoughts about some of the rollout plans that you've probably been keeping track of with trying to get the economy back to normal. Are you guys comfortable with some of the proposals you're hearing? Do you probably want to see it happen more quickly, but understanding that safety is a top priority. Do you have any concerns about what you're hearing with how this economy might be opening back up, Barry?
I think for us, I mean, just in general, it's the safety of the rest of the firm and the employees to make sure that they feel comfortable in going back to work. And I think that's just a generality, whether we have to do more testing or, have some type of vaccine. That's kind of my biggest fear is that if we go too quick, and if there are some people that are sick, will the rest of us get affected? So for us, it's about the safety of our employees, and to me, for everybody else too. So hopefully we do it right. Right now things seem to, like I said, they're not at the best, but like I said, man, we're busy, and that's a great sign. And I like I said, if we can keep it flowing and people safe, let's be smart about what we're doing.
Absolutely. Michael?
I would agree with that completely. I think if anything, this crisis has just made everyone a bit more resilient. We know if you had told me a month or 6 weeks ago that, tomorrow you were going to have to pretty much 100% have all your design teams working remotely, that would have intimidated me a bit, but we're doing it. We're able to do it. I think the safety of our employees, and I know this is on everyone's mind. Now that we've done that, we have the ability and the flexibility to keep everyone safe and to, if things open up, if businesses start opening up, we don't all have to go back to the office on the same day. We can plan this. We can do it the right way. Keep everyone safe. Our employees working at home has its advantages, but it has its disadvantages as well. Like, childcare now is practically shut down. So we'll have to work carefully with our employees as we go back to work and knowing that they're going to be faced with a different situation at home. So I think we're all going to have to be flexible. We all just need to keep our heads down and be safe and keep getting work done. And that's where our heads are.
Gotcha. And I guess, you guys have touched on this. I assume that you guys with your firms and you're probably hearing from other companies in the construction industry in general to try to make accommodations as best you can for people that might be uncomfortable returning to the office. I know, Michael, you kind of touched on that. So, I think we'll probably have a concern for those that are in at-risk categories that might be a little bit hesitant to return to large gatherings, whether it's the office or restaurants or whatever it is. So, any particular comments on that?
No, I think that's going to be a very real concern for all of us. Oh, sorry, Barry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Michael. You're probably saying the same thing I'm going to say.
Great minds.
Yes.
I think we're all going to have that concern. It's going to be at the forefront. We've got the tools to deal with it. And quite frankly, even before this crisis, one of the things that our new employees and really employees across the board were asking us about is flexibility to work from home. And, we were starting to do that anyway. And this has just kind of pushed us over the edge. And now we know we can do it. We can be effective. We can take care of our clients and do it. So that's just something we're going to have to deal with. And I know everyone will have to deal with that, just keeping our people safe. So.
And getting back to some of the raw economics that we're seeing. Or Barry, did you have a comment on that, by the way?
Well, I was just going to say that, like I think I originally started. I mean, that's how our office was set up, as a flexible office. Again, we all have laptops, so the ability to work at home has always been kind of one of the ideals here at KKT. So the transition, everybody taking their laptops home instead of trying to take an old desktop home, it worked really well. And then we did several practice runs when we knew that we were going to probably allow most of the people to work at home to make sure that our system could handle it. But again, like I said, like we said, it's just we want to make sure our employees are safe. And if there is lingering effects of that, we're not spreading it to either our family members or our moms and dads. So that's kind of, again, flexibility. We learned a lot.
I can imagine. So again, getting back into the raw economic situation. Oil prices are obviously as low as they've been in decades. That's going to have a major effect on the state's budget, and eventually that will likely trickle down to other local government budgets. I know, Michael, you had talked about the fact that both of you actually had talked about a lot of your public projects are moving things up. They're full speed ahead. What effect do you see these oil prices having in the near and long term? If hopefully there's a fix coming with the cartels and all that, but it's a pretty rough situation right now. Do you see much impact from that low price of oil in the next few months to a year?
I mean, I don't see how we can't. I mean, we went through this, like 3 years ago when oil dropped, or 4 years ago, that things really slowed down here. So, maybe this is an opportunity too for our area or our state to think about 2 different industries that we can bring in, during these, that we have a better balance of, instead of oil, we have more technology and other industries in here. So again, I think it's just a whole learning experience on not only how we work, on how we're communicating, but the times of when, again, a major economic driver in the state tends to drop. Is there something else that can pick up the slack down the road? So.
Yeah, it's just going to be one of the contributing factors to this downturn, and I really don't have enough insight to predict that, other than I know it's going to hurt, but hopefully that can work itself out. I mean, the stimulus packages that are being talked about and that have already been employed are really incredible, and hopefully that can help that situation. And I know just over the lunch hour, I was listening to CNBC, and I know that the attention is rapidly turning to the petroleum industry and to get help for them too. So hopefully that will all come online and contribute to getting us out of this situation.
Yeah. So I know you guys touched on this a little bit earlier, but as far as jobs shutting completely down, are you hearing much about that? Do you guys have any firsthand knowledge of jobs that have just the brakes have totally been put on and get everybody off the job site? Anything like that?
Not on our end. Everything's still moving forward.
Okay.
Yes, we're the same way. We have not seen anything shut down and stop. We had a couple of projects, I may have mentioned this already, that did, a few 2 or 3 weeks before spring break and were due to start, and those didn't start, but they were relatively small, and everything else that's under construction is still moving forward.
Gotcha. It's good to know. Okay, well, it appears that we have exhausted all the questions that have been sent in. If I have missed one, I want to apologize to anybody that sent in a question. And if you think of one, we do have another couple of great architects that are going to be coming in later this week, as I mentioned, on Thursday from 10 to 11 in the morning. A little bit different time of day and different day of the week, so hopefully we can get everybody covered. If you have questions, please send them in to us send them in to Patty at the ABC office, or you can send them directly to me, either one, and we'll make sure that we get those questions asked later on this week, and we'll try to come up with some new material for Josh and Whit. And in the meantime, we want to say big thank you to both Michael and Barry for being here with us today. Do you guys have any parting comments before we shut it down?
Just thanks for the opportunity, and thank you for all that you guys are doing to keep things moving and to keep people safe and help everyone do our jobs during this time. It's this industry and groups like ABC are really doing an incredible job, and just proud to be a part of it, and let us know if we can help anyone in any way.
Thank you, Michael. Barry?
Yeah, I have to second that. I feel the same way. Thank you for the opportunity. And like we discussed, we're all in this together, and for all of us to kind of get through this, we all need to work together and make this happen. And so far, the GCs have really stepped up, and we really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Good deal. So Michael and Barry, thank you guys. Thank you to your firms, GH2 and KKT Architects. We appreciate your membership and all of the information that you've imparted upon our members today, and look forward to a continued relationship well into the future. Keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this concludes our webinar for today. Be sure to join us on Thursday, and we are working on some other webinars for next week as well, so it should be a very informative couple of weeks here at ABC. Look forward to seeing everybody on Thursday. Thank you.